the Green Divas get to talk to so many inspiring people, who each in their own way is helping us find a deeper shade of green. Here's just one of them. Enjoy.
I just want to say that we're talking to Keya Chatterjee. Did I say that right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Author of The Zero Footprint Baby. And you have a very impressive background aside from that, but that's primarily what we're going to talk about today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Mizar was just saying that this is should be the new Bible for,
Yeah, even if you're not a crunchy person, because, as we call them, Keya, the Birkenstock and sock people, even if you're not like that, you can, in this book, there are so many great ideas for really creating a baby with a much more sustainable lifestyle. First, I have to say this, though. I was leafing through this. Keya, you and your husband, do you still not own a refrigerator?
We do. We actually got a refrigerator right before my son was born.
Oh, okay.
Most commonly asked question of me, though.
Well, yeah, I would guess.
I can't quite picture
I would
it.
guess. You know what? Tell folks what your lifestyle was like before baby.
Yeah, we lived, a pretty extreme green lifestyle. So we had actually gotten rid of our fridge and really had very few appliances that were plugged in. We got solar panels in our backyard in around 2008, and we we used almost no electricity. We almost never used heat or air conditioning in the house. We just, were out and about a lot, and we had cut off the electricity for a couple weeks because basically we had gotten into a fight with our utility and it ended badly.
Gee, I don't know what that's all about.
Well, they keep sending bills.
Yeah. And then when we were living without electricity, we just thought, we don't actually miss anything except our wireless router, pretty much.
Yeah.
So when the electricity came back, we were like, well, let's get back all the things we miss, like the wireless router, and so that we could have music and we could entertain ourselves. But we didn't really miss anything else. And we did community share agriculture where we get a share of food every week, and that food, we found the leafy greens and berries needed to be eaten on day one, whether they were in the fridge or not. Most of the vegetables kept all week, and so the key was just that we just started cooking the portions that we were actually going to eat, and there are all kinds of things that don't need to be refrigerated that people don't realize, like eggs and things like that. So it wasn't that hard. But then when I got pregnant, it was like, I think I was working outside the home, and I thought, I'm going to need a place to put this breast milk.
Yeah.
So we did get a fridge. We got a custom-made Sunfrost refrigerator, super efficient, and we still have it.
Well, I just wanted to say, in the old days, I don't know how long ago, but even 50 years ago maybe, or let's say 100 years ago, people would go to the market daily. They would go down to the market to get the food for the day for the most part.
Do you know what? In Europe, they were still doing that 20 years ago. It has stopped. In my latest travels over to Europe, it's the supermarket now exists. Although the farmers markets are there as well.
Well, in England, I had a hard time finding eggs at first because they don't refrigerate them at all.
Right.
They're completely in the
I
aisle.
found out that you really don't have to. For fresh, organic eggs can last for like a week or two.
It's true. That's what
All
they
right. So, Keya, baby came along.
Now, then, my question is, what exactly is a zero footprint baby? What does that mean?
So the challenge that we laid out for ourselves was basically, can we add a person to our family without increasing our family's carbon footprint?
Okay.
So can we add a person but have zero increase in our carbon footprint, even though, there's all these books telling us you have to buy $7,000 worth of things and you need to do this and you need to do that.
And half of them plug
could we
in.
Not do it?
Or plastic.
Yeah, or plastic, yeah.
So that was the way we defined the challenge, basically.
Got it.
All right.
So I like that.
I also like, I was leafing through, Keya, your roots are in India.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from the old folks? I'm just going to paint with a broad brush here. What did you learn from your mom and your aunts that raised babies before you did?
So, mean, there's so many things that people just consider totally necessary now that people just didn't have before.
Right.
And that's pretty much any item. So in the book, I actually have this list of 10 items that I think that parents actually need. And part of that is, stuff that my mom didn't even have, certainly when she was born, but that kind of make your life easier now. But, one key thing that I learned certainly was how to not use diapers at all. And there's actually a lot of people doing this now. There's a whole movement. I know it sounds a little crazy, but it's called elimination communication. And there's a whole group of people who do this. And basically, right from the moment your baby's born, like right from the moment my son was born, we just, after I nursed him, I just held him over a little potty. And he almost, on cue, went to the bathroom about 15 minutes after nursing, and it was so much easier than cleaning up a big mess. Like, he just went right into the potty, and he did it until he was like a year old. And then in elimination communication circles, they call it a potty strike. He had a potty strike, and I ended up using cloth diapers and doing a lot of research on cloth diapers from when he was 1 to 2. But, I would have never even had the idea to research that if I hadn't, talked to my mom's friends and my mom and even my cousins in India today. They don't use diapers.
Wow.
They just take their kids to the potty from when they're born.
Now, see, so much I think of the accoutrement that comes along with bébés has to do with convenience today, right? So all these things are sold to us because it makes it easier and more convenient, and So my question is it really much more difficult to be a conscious green, striving for zero footprint parent?
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's easier. I didn't have to spend hours shopping for things and months and days shopping for things before my baby was born, because I just decided I wasn't going to do that. And I have these moments sometimes when I think, am I actually depriving my child by not having all of these baby toys and baby objects? And then when I started doing research about it, the more I researched, the more I realized that the less really is more in the case of babies. Like,
yeah.
The only thing a baby needs in the first year really is their parents. And the only thing a newborn parent wants is their parents. And so you can buy, some of the $3.6 billion in toys that are sold annually, or you can do what child psychologists recommend, which is let your child make toys out of the objects that are around them. Because a kid that is, playing with a box, obviously that's not happening with newborns, but
right.
In the second half of
toddler,
the year, of the first year, playing with a box, that box can be, it can be a house, and then it can be a car, and it can be a phone, and it can be a turtle, and that is actually what develops babies' minds. And so all these things that people think are sacrifice are actually really good for our kids and good for us and easier. Now, of course, and a lot of the things that I recommend in the book are things that really are automated, because the big picture things that make a difference really are your home and how you provide energy for it, how you get around, and what you eat. And a lot of the stuff around home and transportation you can automate, and you're going to be exhausted, or at least I was exhausted as a new parent. And so it was such a relief to me that I had already put in LED light bulbs everywhere, because yes, there were times I fell asleep on the floor with the lights on.
Right.
And so the more you can automate, and, we installed solar panels before our son was born, and that way, you're not constantly worrying about every little object. You make one investment of time, and it pays off over time. And a lot of people don't realize that solar panels, in about 20 states, they're basically free,
right.
and you save money every month. And there's a lot of misconceptions about cost. Almost all of the interventions I recommend save you a lot of money.
So some of it is being prepared and understanding, what you'll need in order to have less stress, right?
Absolutely.
And less of a carbon footprint. I had a question that left my mind.
Okay, well, I'm just going to, here's my question to you, Keya. Obviously, you're doing this, other people are doing this. Some people are going to be very intimidated by doing this. If you had a word of advice to those new parents that would like to do, let's say, one thing that might lead to another, where do they start?
Well, I would start in the home, because there's so many things in the home that you can do, and when you're preparing to have a baby, it's a time when you're really, you're nesting, you're thinking about your home, you're making changes, you're deciding if you need a new room, and a lot of the decisions that parents are making at that time are the biggest decisions of their lives, and I think making those decisions with the planet in mind and with your baby's future in mind is what makes the biggest difference. And sometimes that doesn't mean a huge thing, but let's say you want to move because you really want to have a bigger house. Check the bills of that bigger house. You want to move to a neighborhood with better schools. That's a moment when you're locking in the pollution for your family for years to come. So I think that if you can just think about maybe those big decisions and not worry so much about the little things that are going to take a little bit more time, that might be easier for parents that find it a little bit daunting. And in the very, very back of my book, in the appendix, I list the carbon pollution saved for each type of action you can take, so parents can look and see what's the biggest impact thing I could really do.
Yeah, and that's really practical advice and very helpful for people to see and identify. So you've done a lot of homework for folks, and I think, as Mizar said, this really could be a Bible for learning how to be more sustainable as a parent and a family, and it starts with baby.
It does. Now, you know what, Keya, one last question, at least from me. Look in your crystal ball and tell me what you think, and this is such a difficult thing to answer, I think, but you having sowed some seeds for us, when do you think, or how many generations do you think it might take for the next generation to inherit a healthier planet?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Tough question.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't think we were going to turn this boat around, honestly, I wouldn't have chosen to have a child.
So there's optimism.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like parents have to be optimistic, I think, and have to be very hard workers, and those are the two things it's going to take to turn the boat around, and that we are going to turn things around, because I think individuals are going to make the changes they need to make. It's going to take a lot of people weighing in order to make it happen. A lot of the negative impacts, particularly when it comes to climate change, are there's inertia in the system, and so the changes we make today are really going to be seen in decades from now.
Yeah. So the government has to get involved too.
And the government has to get involved too, but the government is nothing except a reflection of what people want.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And so the more you can get people involved, and that's why I care so much about individual action, because it's not, yes, it's a drop in the bucket, although I do believe that a bucket is filled up drop by drop. But really, what you're doing is you're engaging people in a very different way, and if you do what you guys are doing, you think about changing people's identities, helping them become green divas, that changes the way that they vote, it changes the way that they act, and then you have people who are setting an example of what it looks like to live a green lifestyle, and our life is pretty fun, it's pretty rewarding, and that's what we're trying to show people, is that, look, this is not, for us at least, it's not at all about sacrifice.
Well, I am so glad you called in today, and I appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I hope you keep sharing it, and I hope that we'll have you back on the show sometime soon.
Pick up this book, babies, because it's a good one.
Yeah, The Zero Footprint Baby.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
Wonderful to talk with you.
Take care.
Hope you enjoyed that as much as they did. Please visit thegreendivas.com. That's THE greendivas.com for more fun podcasts and information on the Green Divas and low-stress ways to live a deeper shade of green.